Welcome to the Quantum Leap podcast. It's Matt and Chris here, and here with us today is none other than Caitlin Basset. Caitlin, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, we are thrilled to have you back. We're going to put this out as its own little special because it's such a special event. And we're just so happy that you were able to join us.
Of course, anytime. When's the last time I spoke to you? Season 1?
It was back end of season 1, yeah.
Yeah,
you haven't been able to speak to anyone since, so...
Yeah, we weren't allowed to talk to anybody.
Right.
So that must have been frustrating.
It was, yeah. It was a very weird experience. I mean, look, we were very lucky, right? Because we had a show, and half of shows roughly got canceled, which was just heartbreaking. I know actors that shot the show, and they're just trapped. Will never be seen. So it's really hard out there for actors and crews, and it's a very scary time. So we're in a very lucky position to have had shows coming out. But I will say it was heartbreaking to have shows coming out that you can't promote. You can't talk about, because we worked so hard to make them, and we were so excited for people to see them. And it was obviously such a big reveal. Like, that wasn't a small change coming into season 2. And we just had to sit there and wait it out. But I'm glad we did. I hope the deal was worth it. So all of that.
You always seem to have so much fun. All of you always seem to have so much fun promoting the show. So yeah, it's great to have you back, to be able to talk to you.
Thank you. Yeah, we do. We like the show. We like each other, which helps, except for Ray. Awful.
Well, yeah, obviously everyone knows that.
We can tell.
Monster.
So shall we dive right in and talk about some of the cool stuff that's been happening over the last 6 episodes, and particularly we have been loving the journey that Addison has been going on over the last 6 weeks. As challenging as it's been, we've been loving watching it. Let me rephrase that. We've been loving watching that journey that Addison and Ben have been going on. What were your first How did you find out about the arc that you were going to go through, and what were your first thoughts when you learned about this?
Totally. I think my first thought was, am I being fired? Is this just a long walk to fired? But it was, I was so pumped because Martin and Dean, kind of sat me down, and they're like, we want to tell you, I think it was a phone call. But it was a sit down kind of phone call, not a, hey, let's talk for 2. And they were like, here's what we're looking to do for season 2. And we were still, obviously we were still shooting season 1 because we had that big, massive break of 3 days between the 2. We had a long weekend. We had a Monday off. I swear, that's not true. We had a Monday off. And we were like, thanks guys. We got Monday. But
was that just to recover from the rap party? Was it there was like a rap party and then the hangover?
No, we couldn't afford a rap party. We're busy.
McDonald's?
No, we got high fives. Yeah. We did get wrapped out, so it was sweet because we got, everyone gets wrapped out when they technically wrap a season, which was very meaningful. There's a video I'll probably post at some point. I'm crying. Surprise, surprise. Because it was just to go on this journey with all of these wonderful people, and then for it to have a chapter close and be like, I'll see you tomorrow. But part of this is done, and that's sad. And Georgina, we haven't seen her, who I'm going to lunch with this week, which I'm very excited about. But anyway, how did they tell me? They called and they said, we have a direction, so we want to let you know. And that's an amazing cat.
Thank you. She likes to distract. She could tell you that you were launching into something there.
Exactly. I
wanted to break the flow.
Yeah. We were taking off. They called me and said, here's what we want to do. It's going to be a time jump. And they basically just pitched the whole episode 1. And I thought it was great. I thought it was a really inventive way to break us out of the season 1 mold and I think we learned a lot of lessons from season 1 about this show, and going into season 2, I think they started to incorporate those lessons in a very smart way. We started using the cast differently, and I would argue better. We started to see people in their lives because we launched into the season 1 Ben already left. The house is already on fire. So there's not much to be done but try to put out fires. Where in season 2, we're like, hold on, we got to come back to the house that burned down, that one, that's a big ask, right? And everybody's been in their lives. So it was really exciting and also a little scary because they took a risk. They took a very big risk, creative risk with my character this year. And I think Dean and Martin really wanted to make sure I wasn't, too worried about that. And I think, if I'm being honest, I was too naive to be properly worried about that. And then as we started, I was like, sure, whatever you guys say, it's going to be great. And then we started walking down the path, and I was like, oh, this might not go well for me. But, as the journey has unfolded, it's been so wonderful to just play it different.
That's what I've noticed most about this new season. As it's been unfolding, there have been very specific journeys for each character. And Addison seems to have sort of the worst part of it, because you're in there and you want to be there for Ben the way you always have, but you can't be there for Ben the way you always have because it's now all fundamentally changed. Mm-hmm. And I'm loving that they're writing Addison smart this season, someone that is not just thinking with emotions, but considering Ben above all. And I want to know, how do you feel about the way that Addison is being used this season? Because we did have the blow up, and now here in episode 6, you're a little bit in the background, but you're still, a major part of the story. So I guess maybe it's talking about how you had to do it in season 1 versus how you're doing it in season 2.
Yeah, the term I use is kid gloves, because in season 1, I had to deal with Ben with kid gloves. He didn't remember stuff. Yelling at, having an adult high level issue with somebody who doesn't even have the information to have that conversation back to you, nor are they in a position to, creates a dynamic that I don't think anyone really foresaw, because it's not a very normal trope for a character, you know what I mean? To have, so it was a lot of learning. And yeah, I tended in season 1 to be a lot of extension of Ben. What has Ben going through? How do I make him okay? How do I make him safe? And who Addison was got very dissolved in what I call the Ben of it all. And I just had to treat him with kid gloves. And one of my favorite things that came out of their mouth when they called me to tell me what season 2 was going to be was that Ben's going to remember everything. Because now, sure, he's leaping, sure, he's still in time, and that's a little tragic and all of those things. But I now have a human that remembers all the things that I can talk to. And that's been really nice. And you're right, she's smarter and things are different now. I think one of my favorite Addison episodes of the season so far was honestly episode 2, because you saw her in her element and she said, I don't want to come back. This isn't my life anymore. You can't just put me through what you've put me through, make me recover from it, and then just whistle and I come running back. Of course I must, because she has to. At the end of the day, that's still, I would do it for any, if you lost your best friend. I think at the end of the day, if Al would do it for Sam, Addison always has to do it for Ben, right? And I think Al would definitely come back. He never left. He tried until he didn't make it anymore. But I do really appreciate what I've gotten to play this season, because it's a little bit higher level. I'm dealing with somebody who has agency as well now, instead of being so fish out of water the whole time. And there's other players on the board, so it's not all about Ben all the time.
And obviously now Addison is in a new relationship with Tom.
Yes.
How's that? Clearly Tom and Ben are very different people. How's that changed the way that you approach Addison in terms of how she handles each of those.
Well, that was honestly probably the hardest part. First of all, Addison felt like she was cheating on Ben because there was no break in between that. So we shot 18, and then 2 weeks later, I have a new dude, which felt just as abrupt as you would assume that feels. But what's been really nice is Peter has a very different energy from Ray, and he brings a very different thing. So as an actor, I kind of got to cheat a little bit in the sense that like I can just deal with the two humans differently, and you're going to see a difference because they're different people. So if you're dealing with them as they are, you're going to see a different relationship. But I also work to build what's the difference here. Like because obviously like the Ben and Addison relationship was passionate and they were friends, and they're the people that dreamed together. Right. They thought they were going to make the world a better place. And the people that do that, and the energy that requires, and the relationship, that there's so much excitement and like, are we going to do this? And it's reflected in their relationship, where then when tragedy sets, when you lose your family, when it all goes terribly, terribly wrong, and you somehow survive that, and then who do you go to after that? Who's the person that you're going to go to? It's not going to be the same person. You've put the excitement behind you. I think that was one of the things Dean and I, most in particular, spoke about, because I think there's a moment in Addison's life between the time Ben didn't come back and the time she decided to really pursue things with Tom, where she put childish things away. And we're not going to have silly dreams anymore. We're going to have a relationship with a friend and an equal who we understand each other, and it doesn't have to be all those extra things. It doesn't have to be the rest of it. And I think those relationships have come through, which is nice. But it's a different one.
The way you describe it, it sounds, reasonable for where the character's at and everything that's happened to the character, but it's so tragic.
It's so tragic.
Putting childish things away, dreaming about being a leaper. It kind of speaks, but it speaks to one of the things that I've noticed in this season, which I've really loved, is the fact that Addison's finally able to give voice and vent some of the resentment she must have been feeling since season 1. We haven't seen you so animated or angry, quite frankly, since you trashed the apartment looking for the drive, the thumb drive. Right. And in this season, you're getting to do so much stuff, Addison, Ben stuff, where you're laying it out on the line and finally maybe telling him some of the things you've been wanting to tell him since all of this went down. So can you talk about playing that side of the character?
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's what I really mean when I say the kid gloves came off. Like, I can finally tell him about himself, and I don't feel like I'm kicking a puppy because he remembers and he has agency too now. And there was a lot of season 1, which, again, I felt very handcuffed to where he was in his amnesia and his exposure in the leaps, where it was just like, this isn't the time for you to have a problem. That has to wait, because the leap matters, because Ben matters, because none of that can be addressed right now. And then in season 2, and, even episode 3, we get into it a little bit when he's jumping over that gate.
Yeah.
But he gets into it more. He lets me know about myself. And I do remember being just like the audacity, like the sheer audacity. And like, remember, Ray and Caitlin are friends. So there's like a thing of like, oh, really? Really? So that was a fun day, and we got caught in a hailstorm. I wish I could have told you all these things. Ray and I got caught in like a 1920s car in the middle of a hailstorm. It was crazy. We're like opening the car doors. We're like, get in. And like crews like running in to get out of the hail. It was nuts. Like the weather on season 2 has been comical.
Yeah, if we're going to go down that side road, I think you're finally able to post some behind the scenes stuff. And it looks like during This Has Taken Too Long, there was a blizzard.
It literally took too long. They had to shoot, they kept shooting that episode through episode, I want to say 4. Like they kept having reshoot days. And then their reshoot days got snowed out. It was nuts. And there was like a big cast. Melissa was on it, or Melissa. She's not a small deal. Like she was busy and she kept having to come back to set.
This was being shot over the summer, right? I mean, granted, I'm British, but this is spring, summer in LA.
We started it in February.
Again, maybe this is the British in me. I just assume February in LA is usually pretty good weather. I didn't realize
that's what Martin assumed when he tried to make California for Afghanistan. And then it hailed. So you're not all alone. But yeah, it was comical, the season 2 of it all, and we can talk more about that when we get to episode 5, which was another just happenstance of nonsense, which ended up very fun. But sorry to backtrack to your question. I'm probably being terrible to edit right now. I apologize. We finally got to get into the realness of you left. You decided to do this. Yes, to protect me, but who am I? Well, I'm not a damsel. Like help, at the very least have a conversation with me about this. And then he let me, Ben let Addison know about herself in 3. But my favorite scene so far was in 4, was the fight in 4. Because for the first time she got to go just let it rip with him. Now, still with love, you don't hate the man. Like you'll love him to death, which is why it hurts so much. You can't hate somebody you don't care about to a certain extent. But to just be able to lock in with Ray and Ben and be like, this has not been fair from the beginning, and I am about done hearing about it now. This has sucked for me for years, and quite literally Addison for the whole run of this thing. So yes, I understand that you're mad that I didn't wait, and I understand that you're dealing with that, and that's going to take a second, but chill the fuck out, because you are not the only one going through something here. And it was just so nice to do it, and so nice. It was freezing that day. It was very hard to shoot. But I just remember me and Ray really just being like, okay, let's go. Like we even like there were extras that were walking by. We're like, get rid. Like we don't want the noise. We just want this moment to be the pinnacle of basically season 1, almost. It was a reflection of that was now being moved on to its next chapter.
That one got me viscerally too. I mean, I think when we talked about it in the pod, it was basically Addison saying, nobody asked you to do this. You took this upon yourself. So honestly, stow it. And I think I used more colorful language, but it was very, I didn't know I needed to see that scene until I saw that scene. And I love that scene. I think that is a highlight, if not the highlight so far of season 2. Certainly the highlight of the Ben and Addison stuff in season 2. My favorite 2 scenes between Ben and Addison so far this season was when you guys first reconnected in the bank episode, in the bank heist. And you even said to Tom, he's going to know. He's going to take one look at me and he's going to know. And then we get that scene where Raymond looks at you and you can just see the moment where his heart breaks. And he, you thought I was going. And then you had that scene where you guys just go at it. And when you gave him, just a comeuppance, it was so good. It was so good. So, I mean, I don't know where I'm going with that. I just want to let you know that there have been so many different things in this season that I've been able to latch on to that I don't know if I expected to ever see in this version of Quantum Leap. And it's nice to see these characters being able to do something more than the dynamic that we had in season 2.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it's been fun to play. It's been fun to exist in. And it proves the show can be more than just an episodic basically it's essentially a procedural, especially the old version. It was a buddy cop procedural show. That's what the show is. And if we can incorporate these different plot lines and they can work, you just have to get them out of the mold of the whole point of a show is to either get Ben home or can we get Ben, obviously that's always a question. Not only are we trying to get Ben home, we're trying to get Sam home, but that can't be the only thing we're doing every episode. We have to live. We have to be fully founded adults as well. And I think this season has started to do that well. I will say, and this is my first big show. Ray and I didn't like doing it. It wasn't nice. Like as an actor, yes, it's fun. It's fun to like go in and like do a more emotional scene, but we don't like those days. Those days of like when we shot that scene, the fight scene, and then the worst one was honestly when basically he tells me to not be his hologram anymore. We actually had a rough day and we kind of just sat together all day and then we'd go do it. And then we'd kind of like sadly walk back because it hurt. It was like it wasn't so much the breakup of lovers as it felt like a breakup of friends, which is a very under talked about tragedy that people go through in life. Is like, not only am I losing a lover, but that had already been lost for a year or so, and Addison at that point for 4 years, that lover had been lost. But it was the friendship that was like, this has to go away now. And it was very sad. It was very sad to play. It was very sad to do. And neither Ray and I liked doing it, but it worked well. And we shouldn't have liked it because if we did, then the characters weren't actually breaking if we were happy with it,
And since then, at the point of the season that we're at now, there's been 2 episodes gone where the 2 characters haven't interacted. Mm-hmm. I know, generally speaking, whenever we speak to any of the guest stars who appear in the Leaps, they say, "Oh, we don't have any time with the project." Does that work both ways? Have you been working? Well, I guess you haven't been working with Ray throughout episodes 5 and 6. Have you seen less of him? Is that whole dynamic? Yeah. So yeah. I guess then my question is both for you, Caitlin, but also thinking about Addison. How's that changed your relationship with Mason, Ernie, Nanrissa, and Magic and Jen? Have you been more close to them in the filming of 5 and 6?
Well, certainly, because they were the only ones I was seeing. But I didn't see them more because we basically film HQ days 1 to 2 days an episode. So I'm always generally in HQ. So I basically still saw them 1 or 2 days an episode. I just then didn't see Ray and everybody else for the rest of the time. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, it became the only time I was on set. And it is actually a little like, it's hard to work every single day. Mm-hmm. Like Ray works so hard. It's bananas. But sometimes it's hard to not work and then come back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, right. Okay. We got to get back into this. It's the stop and go of it. Nanrissa, I remember talking about it, was like trying to figure out how to navigate that. Mm-hmm. And it's a different type of challenge for sure.
Yeah, and that was something we noticed that in season 1. For all that Ray works extremely hard, you're the only one that's in both the Leaps and the project time. So yes. You must have had that consistently for 18 episodes, and then
yes.
Yeah, it's very strange for us as an audience not seeing you constantly there. So yeah. I can only imagine what it's like for you.
It was weird. It was also, especially for the first one, it was kind of nice.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna take
everyone gets a week off. Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't my favorite. I'd rather be at work. I'd rather be on screen. But I also think it's very healthy for shows, especially this show, to move the dynamics a bit. I think, especially my character had a little bit of screen saturation, which I was always there. And, I understand why we needed that in season 1 because he's brand new to this. All of these can go sideways in 2 seconds. But by season 2, okay, let's back up a bit. Like he kind of gets how this happens. He's pretty good at it now. Just like how Sam and Dean worked. Like Sam did a lot of things by himself and that works. So let Ray leap, but that also allows the rest of us to be having storylines that again aren't about the Ben of it all. And so his own competence kind of gave us the space that the show needed. And then the breakup, of course, you add in, you get different dynamics on the screen. You have Ernie, who just delivered a phenomenal episode, and they can use that, right? They can use Ernie in the LA riots, and which was an amazing thing to have, Ernie, who's African American, and Ray, who's Korean, talking about this thing that we rarely ever see from the Koreans' perspective, the LA riots. That's almost never been talked about, which, by the way, my favorite thing of the show, I think so far, and I full on just started crying when I saw it, and maybe I'll start crying right now, I don't know, because I feel it, is when Ray was in that fight with his dad in episode 5 and then switches to Korean. And I hope you won't mind me saying this, but Ray's mother doesn't speak English. She only speaks Korean. So he grew up translating for her in America. And that also means she's never seen him perform without subtitles. So that was the first line she's really gotten to see much of, where she could understand what he was saying. And I was like, we just need to shout that from the rooftops. Like what a moment for her and for him and for that family and I thought that was so special. And so we need more of that. That's where the heart of the show is.
That's an amazing perspective to bring to it, because I recall that scene for basically turning into a little bit of a gag at the end because it was so poignant. But then C.S. Lee undercuts it by saying, "When did you learn to speak Korean?" And it kind of took you out of the moment. It was good to transition away from it, but you're right. It was powerful. It was nice to see, because that's part of I think the growth that we've seen in Ray's character. We got to see it a lot in This Has Taken Too Long, because he was forced to just on his own recognizance figure out what to do. And I feel like we see more and more of that every leap. Especially almost to reckless abandon in Lonely Hearts Club, when he seemed to be hell bent on getting away from you, maybe to his own detriment. So, it's been an interesting dynamic to watch, an interesting evolution for his character and for your character as well, because it's just these uncharted waters that are so unlike season 1.
Which is great. I mean, we love that. At the very least, look at the breadth we can go from one season to another. And then the season 3 ideas are phenomenal, which we cannot say anything about. And obviously we got to wait.
We can soundboard this.
No, we can't. No, we can't.
There was a great scene in This Has Taken Too Long of Addison in the Fermi suit getting ready to leap as she was supposed to. So there are other timelines possibly out there, maybe colliding, maybe intersecting.
You better call my writers. Actually, you better call NBC. Let's start there. But yes, it's been so nice to be so different. And watch Ray. I mean, look, nobody needs to praise Ray's acting because it speaks for itself. But I mean, the guy can do anything. And then you give him this. Here, you don't remember things. Figure it out in season 1, and now. Oh, by the way, here's a freshly broken heart, and you do remember things, and you're going to be stuck out here forever. So deal with that. They're pretty big things to play, and he's just crushing it.
Well, let's talk about some of your performances over the last few episodes. Yes, let's. Don't turn this to Ray. You've shared a few of the tougher moments and the sadder moments. Is there anything that you've genuinely had fun with? What's been your most enjoyable memories of recording the season to date?
This season.
And keep in mind, we're catching up on 6 episodes now, so I know this is a broad question.
I know. Well, we're talking at the wrong time because there's some stuff coming up soon, which we'll talk again after. That is very cool. It is very cool. So I'm pretty I've had some real highs this season.
But we haven't seen them yet.
You just haven't seen them yet. I've had some acting highs when it comes to like the sadness. Like even though it wasn't fun to play as Ray's friend and Caitlin on the show and Addison, as an actor, you love those moments. You get to go somewhere other than, a quippy thingy or here's some information about how you're going to die now. This is how now everybody's going to die. But yeah, some of the real highs I still think are coming up for her because, at this moment, we really took the first 4 episodes to close the chapter. Close season 1, reestablish the boundaries, reestablish this world. And now, I'm not even in the leaps. So it's going to take a minute before we can kind of reshuffle the board and things settle in. But what's really fun about that is it creates space for Mason and Nanrissa and Ernie. I mean, one of my favorite things was that on episode 5, coming up. 6, I'm sorry. 6 coming up. Mason was supposed to be the hologram the entire time. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but Mason got COVID. And so we all of a sudden had to start. And I remember when it happened, Mason wasn't sitting with us. They were in their trailer, which was a little weird. And then all of us are waiting for Mason, just probably talking a lot of smack, being like, oh my God, where is Mason? And it's me and Ernie and Nan, and we're all sitting around. And then I think Drew came up. Yeah, because it was Drew's episode and looking stressed out. And was like, okay, so there's some changes. Because, they can't tell us, but we all know. We're like, oh, Mace got the vid. And they weren't sick. So it was all good. It was just a test positive and I think a runny nose. So Mason was fine. But what ended up being fun, and I think you're going to see it tonight, is that it gives it this quality of tag team. You instead of the one steady Eddie hologram like Ernie was and I tend to be, all of a sudden you have someone's coming in, someone else is coming in, who's in, who's going in. And that is fun. And we have space for that on that show. Because if it's not somebody's job, then you're tag teaming and it just creates opportunity, right? Which is fun.
I think that Drew did speak to that a little bit with us because he said that actually Mason was supposed to win the rock, paper, scissors fight, but then they had to pivot because apparently they weren't available. And you wouldn't notice it watching the episode, put it that way. So you guys made it work, and we're always on Team Jen here anyway, so we love seeing Jen as the hologram as well and getting to see more Nanrissa doing stuff. So,
I love it.
Yeah. So, but that's one thing that at first we kind of scratched our heads about in season 1, how it seemed like the hologram could be interchangeable, where it was, so set in the lore of the Legacy series that it was Al, and basically it was a brainwave thing, and you had to have the hand link. And this new build of the project, it seems like, obviously we proved it this season. You can have anybody go in there and be the hologram, I guess, as long as they have clearance. So it just opens up the storytelling possibilities in so many different ways. And I feel like this season has been so much more dynamic feeling, and we're just now getting started. It already feels like it's above and beyond what it's been, and we haven't even begun. Right.
You had to just break a mold that existed long before there was a cast of 5, you know? And I think once you moved out of that, the possibilities of the show, and I know Deborah talks about this constantly, but the possibilities break open if you're willing to just get away from that concept a bit. And it's better. Like, as the person with screen time to lose here, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm the one losing screen time, and I'm like, it's better. Like, it's fun to watch Mason and Ray riff. It's fun to watch Nanrissa side-eye everything. And, really like just get to be her. And it's fun to watch Ernie be someone other than the level-headed constant in the office. That's better. We have a good cast and they have a good chemistry. Use them. Like, get me out of there. It's fine. It's okay. Not forever. Okay. But I think the show benefits from it. So yes, as the person with screen time to lose on this, I think it's better for the show.
And you say not forever. Well, we know there's another 2 episodes that have been filmed that haven't been aired yet, coming up over the next few weeks. And you've already alluded to the fact that some of your highlights have yet to come. So I guess we have a short window in which to expect some more Addison.
I believe that is okay to say.
He says, trying to paint you into a corner here. Anything else you can share about? No, it's fine. So we've got the Salem witch trial episode coming up and the episode in Egypt.
Which, like, by the way, hear what you're saying, right? We had the Princeton episode with the geniuses and the Salem witch trial episode. It's very clear which person was supposed to go with which leap.
Right? Yeah.
Right? Like, come on. But stuff happens, and then we get to play with that, which I think ended up even more fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Did you say? But yes, we do have Egypt. We do have Egypt, baby.
Now, you probably can't answer this because it might spoil things. Did you get to go on location?
That's what I was about to ask. I was trying to figure out a way of getting there.
Sorry, I should have. I'm going to have to call my lawyer before I call NBC. I don't know if I can answer that. I'm sorry. I probably should have asked. But I don't...
We'll let you err on the side of caution.
Yeah. I don't know. Please call NBC. I mean, there's going to be pictures out at some point, right? Like, whatever. I wouldn't be surprised, but I can't legally say yes or no.
We've seen you in the trailers for 7 and 8 looking like you're in the leap, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're on location because there's sets.
That's
and
true.
stuff, so
yes.
Going to stop picking at this particular.
Well, it's funny because
I'm not being helpful here.
As someone who's excited about the new paradigm of the show and stuff that was coming up this season, I was surprised at honestly just how much they spoiled with the season-long trailer and with some of the trailers that have been, next on Quantum Leap, the post-credits trailers. So have you guys been reacting to that? Like, huh?
Well, they totally told on me at the end of episode 1 that I had a new dude. And I was like, guys, that's supposed to be like the SmackDown. And also, people then had a week to be mad at me before they got context, right? Like, you need some context before you just drop things that people get mad at me. People are calling me very mean words on the internet now.
We said the same thing because we saw the screener for episode 2 and got to see Jen in what she's been doing, Mason what they've been doing, and it was kind of slowly, okay, things have changed. And Addison and Tom was slowly introduced.
We dropped the goldfish into the thing slowly. We're slowly.
Those of us privileged to have that experience got a nice, and then 99% of the rest of the world got boom, 2 seconds kissing. It's all.
She's a whore. Like that's what they got. and I have been called thusly on the internet, which is a bit much. It was 3 years, everybody. Okay, I wasn't seeing somebody else on the side.
Yeah, it's a sucky situation for everyone concerned.
Yeah, but I do. You know, it's network, and so I don't make the decisions. But I do sometimes wish they'd let it unfold at the pace the writers intended instead of.
Yes.
But you need the highlights, and I guess people watching Mad are still people watching, even if they're like, "What happened?" They're still watching. So
I've got to watch to hate it.
Yeah,
and it does mean we've been able to spend the last 2 months referring to this one as the Nazi episode. And there's so much more to episode 6 than that. But
it's what really, again, I know, and like you can't really call it that because that's halfway through the thing.
Like, when we discussed it on the main pod. We called it. It's almost like a National Treasure meets Indiana Jones. It's such a fun mystery episode and very smart and action oriented in some parts, but kind of brainy too. So it was
the Nazi episode.
Yeah, so for a Nazi episode, it had a lot going on.
It had a lot. It's not often where Nazis aren't the main dish of the episode, and they really made it. That was half of it. It was the fun part was the Princeton part. Drew did a great job and also did a great job of fixing the emergency. I got to bully Drew a lot because he wrote me out of the episode for a lot of it. So I've been relentless, but that's fun for me.
Relentless in what way?
Well, just, I thought we were friends. You're going to get an episode and then you're just not going to even put me in it much. Okay. All right. I just, okay. Just dropped off baby blankets because he's got a baby on the way. That's what kind of friends we are. I give you gifts and you write me out of your episodes. Okay. I understand.
You had some very touching scenes. So okay. Maybe those baby blankets helped.
Maybe.
Maybe. So you guys were done with the first 6 episodes just before the strike, probably a few weeks? And
not much.
Yeah, the writer's strike anyway, yeah. And
the writer's strike was starting. We finished our last week and the writers were gone. Poor Dean couldn't come to set. It was his episode.
But you were lucky, as you said, that you benefited from the fact that you didn't have that hiatus, and now you guys are, back at it. Can you talk about sort of the schedule to come, and do we have the entire back 5 to look forward to? It was going to be maybe 13 this season, Matt. Is that how it went?
Yes.
Yes, it's 13. We do have the back 5, so we're going to go 13. No more, which, we were all a little sad for. I think all of us were hoping for a little more, but the reality is the strike took a very long time. And NBC's got a very full schedule, especially of I think the Dick Wolf show's coming up. So blame all the Law and Orders. It's all their fault. But yeah, we got 5 more and we're shooting, I think we can say it. We start shooting the 27th. So we're going right back in. I'm in a fitting tomorrow. Ray and Eliza are already doing press. The wheels are turning. And I just had a great conversation with Dean about the arc of the rest of season 2. And I am not disappointed. So if that's exciting, I hope that helps. I'm sure that's all I can say.
And there are ideas for season 3. So we can take that away, Matt. Caitlin likes where we end up in season 2, and they have some pretty gonzo ideas for season 3. Again, timelines colliding, Addison leaping. I don't know.
Well, it's just they can change the games. They've already proved that they can do it, and they also proved, and which is, I think a huge thanks to the fans, they came with us on it. They're like, oh, this is different, but let's watch the show still. That's a big deal. If you're to change, when you change the structure of a show that big, And so we proved that we can do it. So let's keep going.
Keep doing it.
That's terrific. I'm just so happy that you guys got your other 5 that we were able to get. I mean, we're in a pretty privileged position as Quantum Leap fans this season to have basically what amounts to a full season of new shows where, what maybe 1 or 2 other shows have anything at all. So, it's keeping us busy. So thank you.
Well, thank you. We're excited about it too. And did we ever get to even talk about 18? Did I even talk to you guys after the finale?
Yeah, do you recall we did a roundtable, and it was Nanrissa and Ben and Ray. The guy who plays Ben, Ray,
Okay.
and you, all 3 of you spoke to. I think Albie and Matt and I were all on that. Well, I think it was all 3 of us, so it was kind of a full house. So we did discuss, but you couldn't really discuss anything after that. So we took it right to that final scene where there were still like conspiracy theories on the internet that somebody did manifest in the accelerator chamber at the end of that episode, and who was Addison staring at?
Oh, and we've had so many discussions online about the look on your face and what that meant. It meant there was no one there. People have read so much into that look.
Yes.
So.
Well, that wasn't supposed to be. I wish I had known they were going to end it on that look, because I might have delivered a slightly different look, because there was a whole scene after that. A whole scene that was supposed to play that they just cut. But ended up being, I think it was the right move, because, I think the question of it, again, it's like people, even if they're watching because they're mad or they want to know what happened, like it's positive.
Keeping them watching.
Are you at liberty, do you think, to reveal what that scene is, since it's now ancient history? Or I understand if you don't think you can.
Oh, I think I can. I think it was just basically he didn't come home, and what are we going to do? We're going to keep going. It was like she delivers like a bit of a okay, well then we're going to figure this out until he is. And that's kind of where it's essentially what happened anyway, but instead of saying it, they cut it so that you don't know, is he back? Is he not back? Is there somebody else? I understand why they cut it, but ultimately it didn't change what would have happened.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, it's nice to leave it on sort of that cliffhanger and to see what's what. And then we get, next season on Quantum Leap, and we see Ray saying, "Why haven't I leaped home?" So we kind of knew it was going on.
I mean, yeah, like I think Martin says it, it's a bit of the Odyssey. Like, that's like, he's got to stay out there. To a certain extent, that's the show. And he's it's his show. So, I mean, the structure of it, at least for now, but who knows? The writers are stinking brilliant. So they probably could figure it out, and Ray's like half back in the real world, and it'd still be a show. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea what they could do, but they could do it.
Well, I want to thank you for putting to bed some internet speculations. There have been people saying it was Sam that stepped out when Ray didn't come. There were just so many weird fan theories going on about who was actually in the accelerator. And we now hear it from Caitlin that there was nobody in the accelerator. Let's all move on.
Chris, you know the internet well enough. That won't stop anything.
She doesn't know what she's talking about.
Fake news.
But, still going.
Yeah. Season 2 so far has been so much more expansive and dynamic. There's a lot more adventure leaps, a lot more human-centered leaps. It's such a completely different show. I know that we discussed some of the highlights that you've had. Aside from the Lonely Hearts Club, do you have a favorite episode or a favorite new feeling about this season that has even surprised you as someone on the show as to where they've taken it?
I think we should talk more about it. after the season. I'm sorry. I know that's such a kick the can answer. I'm so sorry. But the thing is like, not only are we about to turn left again, but we're going to turn left again. And so there's so much happening still. I think one of the things that I am very excited for audiences to see is that it's not just Ben and Addison who have a dynamic now to figure out as the shows move forward, but there's other characters on the show this year that we're very excited about. And I think all of those characters have to figure out how they work with each other moving forward. And I think audiences are really going to enjoy how that gets worked out in a really cool way, in a way the show's never been able to do it before.
Cool. Wow. Ooh, that's so intriguing. We got a little bit of that. I'll say that again. We got a little bit of that in this episode with Ben and Tom interacting, which is not something we expected to see, much less they seem like they could have been friends by the end of it. So, it's going to, I guess maybe the first unexpected step, right? Mm-hmm. So, really cool. I'm so intrigued. I can't wait to see these episodes.
I can't get over, Caitlin, it's always such a joy to speak to you, and it's so lovely to have you on the show. And we just invited you on to have a chat about the last 6 episodes, because we know you've been chomping at the bit to talk about them. And you have managed to tee up what amounts to just 2 more episodes left this half season so well. I don't know what's coming up for the next couple of weeks now, but I'm excited.
Thank you. I'm
sure fans will be as well.
I love it. It's what amounts to, those are pretty good, but wait till these come out.
Yeah.
Yes. So, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I really hope we can have you on again at the end of the season.
Absolutely. Oh, it's going to be fun.
Fantastic. Can't wait. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.